Our special guests today, Gregory Wood and Lori Day Howe from Hospice of the Ozarks, and I'm just delighted to have you both here today.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
It's a joy to always visit with you.
Well, and I understand now there was a recent program that was held in the Lagerborg dining room at the hospital, and what was that program all about? Can you share some of that with us, please? I understand it was just a huge success and something that was very much needed for this area.
The topic of overcoming compassion fatigue is so relevant to not just hospice professionals, but every professional, every healthcare professional, as well as caregivers in the home who are striving so hard to love and support those in their life, whether it's a chosen career or a loved one in their own home. And yet there are times as human beings, just the demands and the expectations of providing care to folks, to individuals, can be overwhelming because it's just the human journey. And so we were very, very excited to co-sponsor with a couple of the other area hospices to bring forth a speaker that would address the important topic of how to overcome compassion fatigue. I think compassion fatigue is very natural and a part of our journey sometimes in life, but we need those techniques on how to view that and to fill our cup back up, how to continue to look at one more situation and give 100% to that. And so that's why we were very excited to present.
Can you
this presenter.
share some of those techniques with us? I know as a caregiver,
Sure.
You go through the whole realm of emotions.
Absolutely.
The love first and foremost, and the compassion, but there are times when you're just plain pooped.
Absolutely.
You're tired.
And you know, one of the things that Joe talked about the day of, and we can talk about some of those techniques, but when I was talking to folks before the conference about it, I would say, they're like, I've never heard that term before, compassion fatigue, those terms. And I said, well, you know, it's what we used to call burnout. Well, Joe corrected that at the conference, and he said, you know, when people are burned out, what do? You quit. You find something else to do. When people experience compassion fatigue, you can't quit being compassionate. And that is what the seminar was aimed at, was for folks who give of themselves, who, whether it be in a caregiver role, a volunteer role, whatever it is, when they experience symptoms of fatigue, of compassion fatigue, you don't stop being a compassionate person, and that's why you do kind of get burned out, but you can't. So he did talk about different ways. One of the things that I took away from it, and we talk about this and we joke about it, but is to find something that does make you happy, that brings you joy, and to take time, even if it's 5 minutes. And he asked the audience, he asked the audience that was there, what is one thing you can do every day that makes you happy? And people said everything from reading their Bible to walking to petting the dog, which we were petting Zinger here a few minutes ago. It doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to be anything big, but it's just one thing you enjoy, and take some time to do that. Because like Greg said, if we don't fill our cup up, we don't have anything to give other people.
We've got to find that self-talk is really, really important. And I think when we go through periods of our time where we are just so tired, and you can kind of tell when that's happening, we're a little bit shorter in our response, our tone is a little sharper, our patience is thinner, because we're just wearing down. And that's very natural. So at caregiving, even whether it's a chosen career or someone in my home that I'm loving and caring for 24 hours a day, we tell ourselves certain things that we can't take care of ourselves at the same time, because the needs of others are important, and they are. But if we are not finding those ways to take care of ourselves, and then we are not going to be as successful, and folks will feel that compassion fatigue. They'll feel it and sense it around us. And so I think in our self-talk, we have to somehow give ourselves some permission to take 5 minutes. We can't give a whole day when we're caring for someone. If we're having a career and we're hired to work for 8 hours, that 8 hours is devoted to supporting and loving on someone else and getting them through their journey. But the moment I can have 10 minutes or 5 minutes and give myself permission to do that and find out what it's going to do to clear my head, fill my cup back up, even if it's just a sip or two at a time. We've just got to, I think, put the brakes on ourselves. And I didn't actually get to hear Joe personally. I've seen him in an hour presentation, but not during the whole day because I had to be out of town. So I can't speak specifically to his techniques that he was providing for us. But in my life, personally, that's some of the things that I do, is to make sure that I view every single person as if they're the only ones.
You're very present.
Got to be present.
Gotta
I've
be
got to
very
figure out how
present.
to compartmentalize the stress and pressures. Like we can walk into meetings and just hear the worst of news just before that meeting. And I've gone through that. I've heard the worst of news, and then I got to go into a meeting or into a situation that I'm supposed to be up, and nobody has a clue that I just got devastated with bad news. And that's because I've got to figure out in my life how to compartmentalize some of that so I can be present during the situation that's in front of me, and then go back and deal with the other when I get those moments.
Right. And I think that's just so crucial for all of us to do. It's just, I'm thinking of many things like leave your baggage at the door.
Yes.
You know, with the caregivers coming through the doors to the hospital each day. You can't bring that in with you. I mean, that's
If
not
you do,
fair.
we're adding to their struggles.
Right. We need to be sure that we're compassionate for those that really need us.
Absolutely.
Right then and there. Not that the other doesn't,
Right.
but it needs to be addressed at a later time, at a different time. This time is designated for
them. Absolutely.
And some of us who are informal caregivers, you know, I have aging grandparents that are a huge part of my life, and I in turn want to be a huge part of their life and support them in what they need. And sometimes I do need to recognize, though, especially in informal situations, you can't always leave your baggage at the door. And if I've had a stressful day, if, you know, I've had a bill that didn't get paid and the dog needs to go to the vet or whatever the case may be.
I just got a call that
right.
I need 4 new tires. Oh.
That's one more weight.
But
is what
yet
it
my
feels like.
grandparents need something. You
Yep.
know, my papa fell a couple of weeks ago and he needed me to be there and I wanted to be there. But you know, there's other times where they may need something. They may, again, just need a visit. They may need some time spent with them to make sure that they're doing okay, to check on them. I can also say to them, if I'm honest with myself and that if I'm keeping check of myself, you know, Grandma, I've had a really rough day today. I would love to come spend some time with you, but maybe we can watch Wheel of Fortune together and just
Just be
relax a little bit. But to acknowledge that, and if I don't keep track of myself, and if I don't know, you know, what all is going on, and to be able to delegate things and then to tell them that, then I'm doing a disservice to myself and them as well. And you know, that doesn't mean that she won't necessarily want to go to Lowe's and fight the crowd or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But if I tell her, you know, I've had a really rough day, can we just sit and relax for a little bit? Sometimes that works too. And it gives, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
It gives me a chance to decompress a little bit and still be there with my grandparents and spend time with them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's important also to give permission to be imperfect.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's one that's a toughie.
And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that. And sometimes others don't remind us of that and help us along the way. So I think that self-talk is really important, that I'm not going to be perfect in this thing today. I can't. It's not humanly possible. And to give yourself permission to be imperfect, to fall short sometimes, to not be able to do it all is okay.
I'm so glad you guys are on the show today.
Sure. It's
I need this. I'm thinking,
hard.
I'm really listening. Okay, we need to be
It's
listening to
important
this,
for
all
all
of
of us in
Sure.
all aspects of our life, no matter what our calling or responsibilities are, because we cannot be everything to everybody. We can be something, and probably something profound to individuals. But if we're not careful, we'll have such high expectations that we will miss the mark and we live with guilt as caregivers, and I didn't do this and didn't do that. When
The woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
And I've seen that having worked in the healthcare arena for so many years. And oftentimes it was the caregiver who ended up in many cases, dying
Yes.
first because they had not taken care of
Right.
themselves. They were spending so much time, and I'm thinking of some of these different cases over the years. Here's this great big strapping man and this little bitty woman, and
That's right.
she's trying to get him to the bathroom each night, and
That's right.
that kind of thing where her own health is so jeopardized.
Yes, it is.
So, and yet they think that they maybe perhaps should not be calling in anyone else to help them either.
help.
So,
Some
that
of them
they-
feel this obligation
should,
out of
yeah.
love that
Yeah.
I got to be the one to do this.
Yeah.
This is our relationship, and we've got to. And that's a hard balance to figure out how much, like in the hospice world, we want to support that and help lighten that burden as much as they let us and want us to
right.
as well. But it's hard to watch someone who won't let us take
Help.
some of that burden.
take it
so
away,
that
take
we
it
can-
off their shoulders.
Exactly.
We need to take a short
Sure.
break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We've got a great show for you today, as you can already hear. So come back and join us.